All right, guys, so last night we had a debate for the Democratic primary in the New York City mayoral race. The two top dogs being this guy right here, the leftist, the self-declared socialist, Zohran Mamdani, and the other top dog being Andrew Cuomo, who is trying to make a political comeback after leaving office last time around in a completely disgraced fashion after falsifying reports on nursing home deaths and after being credibly accused of sexual harassment by multiple people. He's trying to make his comeback, and this seems to be the only guy who could possibly prevent that. So I want to show you guys a couple different clips, the best highlights of Zoron throughout this debate and why it's important that this guy wins this election. And we're going to finish off. The last clip I'm going to show you was absolutely bizarre. It was in the final portion of it, the lightning round, where the question was, where would you go on your first foreign visit if you were to win the election? A bunch of these people who were up on stage of the candidates said Israel. Zoron basically said, I'm going to stay in New York City and actually fight for my constituents here. And then the moderators stepped in and tried to press him on whether or not he believes Israel has a right to exist, whether or not he would go to Israel, whether or not he supports the Jewish ethno-state of Israel. Absolutely bizarre. So we're going to watch that clip at the end here, but let's just watch this first one where he cooks Andrew Cuomo on being backed by Trump-aligned billionaires.
I am Donald Trump's worst nightmare as a progressive Muslim immigrant who actually fights for the things that I believe in. And the difference between myself and Andrew Cuomo is that my campaign is not funded by the very billionaires who put Donald Trump in D.C. I don't have to pick up the phone from Bill Ackman or Ken Langone. I have to pick up the phone for the more than 20,000 New Yorkers who contributed an average donation of about $80 to break fundraising records and put our campaign in second place.
Okay. And by the way, before Cuomo tries to respond to this, if you look at the breakdown of the small dollar, medium dollar, large dollar donations to Zoran's campaign, it's overwhelmingly, in fact, it's the most amount of any of the candidates in the race are coming from small dollar donations. And Andrew Cuomo is the exact reverse of that. He, of any of the candidates in the race, has the #1 most amount of large dollar donations from some of those Republican right-wing aligned billionaires that Zoran was just mentioning there.
Mr. Mamdani, thank you. Mr. Cuomo, you want to respond to that?
Yeah, please. Mr. Mamdani is very good on Twitter and with videos, but he actually produces nothing for him to accuse me of lying. He also called President Obama a liar and said President Obama was evil. So take everything with a grain of salt.
You don't have to sell me harder on him, right? I already support him. Yeah, Obama was a liar, and yeah, you could make a strong case that he was evil. So if that's an accurate quote there from Zoran, even more of a reason for you to support him.
Donald Trump would go through Mr. Mamdani like a hot knife through butter. He's been in government 27 minutes. He passed 3 bills. That's all he's done. He has no experience with Washington, no experience in New York City. He would be Trump's delight.
All right, brief response, Mr. Mamdani, then we have to move on.
Look, it's true that I don't have experience with corrupt Trump billionaires who are funding my campaign. I don't have experience with party politics and insider consultants. I do have experience, however, with winning $450 million in debt relief for thousands of working-class taxi drivers and actually delivering it to the working-class people.
Thank you, Mr. Mamdani.
So it's kind of a weak and bizarre argument for Cuomo to be leaning in on in this kind of a political moment right now. Basically just the I have experience within New York politics. It's like, first of all, you have this huge split that's happening right now amongst even normie liberal voters where they are fed up with the Democratic establishment. So for you to just say, well, I have experience, I've been here a while, I'm within sort of the establishment framework of New York City politics and Washington politics, it's like, that's not necessarily an argument that's going to work in your favor. In fact, it might do the opposite of that and might lean to Zoran's favor because people are kind of looking for outsiders who are willing to challenge the establishment in this kind of a moment. So it's a bizarre argument for him to lean in on there. And Zoran responds by explaining some of the material things that he was able to win for his constituents during his short time in office. Now, second clip here is kind of a similar one to the first one, but here he's talking about how it's the corrupt establishment of the Democratic Party that has failed us and why we need new people in charge.
As a Democrat, one of my regrets is having trusted the leaders within our own party, leaders like Andrew Cuomo, because what we've seen is that kind of leadership has delivered us to this point where we are under attack by an affordability crisis on the inside and a Trump administration on the outside. And Democrats are tired of being told by leaders from the past that we should continue to simply wait our turn. We should continue to simply trust when we know that's the very leadership that got us to this point. We need to turn the page for new leadership to take us out. You know, as a Democrat.
Yeah, so I mean, again, he's absolutely right on that analysis of how we got Donald Trump both in 2016 and in 2024. I mean, we had the opportunity not to, rehash the Bernie saga once again, but we had the opportunity to actually fight for big, bold, left-wing economic populist change in this country. Democrats said, okay, let's sort of measle our way around the status quo and try to tweak the edges, and let's return to normalcy and, lean into establishment institutions. And that didn't work. Right. That's the entire reason that we ended up with 2 Trump terms in the first place, is because Trump was at least falsely or sort of dishonestly pushing the narrative of, everything is broken. I'm going to be the single guy who can fix it. You've been left behind. You've been screwed over. The establishment is corrupt. And it was that narrative that he rode into the White House on. So he's 100% correct in terms of that analysis. And I think that that's a strong argument that he can make in his own favor. Now, he also did give a shout out here to Mahmoud Khalil, the Columbia student protest leader who has been basically abducted and kept in detention for months at this point by the Trump administration for daring to speak out against Israel's genocide in Gaza. And so, he says here, Mahmoud Khalil should be home with his wife and his newborn son, not languishing in a Louisiana detention facility for exercising his First Amendment rights. So, quality again in his favor there, that he's on the right side of that issue. Now we get to this clip, and this was by far the most bizarre moment of this entire debate, where the moderators jump in here and try to harass Zoran into supporting ethno-states like Israel. I mean, absolutely bizarre situation. Let's watch this.
Mr. Myrie?
I am the proud son of 2 Caribbean immigrants. I represent a robust Caribbean constituency. I'd like to go to the Caribbean as my first visit.
Mr. Cuomo?
Given the hostility and the anti-Semitism that has been shown in New York, I would go to Israel.
Mr. Tilson, where would you go?
Yeah, I'd make my 4th trip to Israel, followed by my 5th trip to Ukraine, 2 of our greatest allies fighting on the front lines of the global war on terror.
Mr. Mamdani?
I would stay in New York City. My plans are to address New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs and focus on that.
Mr. Mamdani, can I just jump in? Would you visit Israel as mayor?
I will be doing, as the mayor, I'll be standing up for Jewish New Yorkers, and I'll be meeting them wherever they are across the 5 boroughs, whether that's in their synagogues and temples or at their homes or at the subway platform, because ultimately we need to focus on delivering on their concerns.
And just yes or no, do you believe in a Jewish state of Israel?
I believe Israel has the right to exist.
Not
as a Jewish state?
Notice.
As a state with equal rights.
He won't,
Okay.
he
Not
won't
as a
say it
Jewish
has a
state.
right to exist as a Jewish state. Be very
And
clear
his
on
answer
that.
was no, he won't visit Israel.
I said that very
That's what he was trying to say.
No. Unlike
No,
you, I
you
answer,
never-
unlike
you
you, I
never
answer
said
questions
no.
very
Okay.
directly.
All right, I
and
think
I
we're
want to
clear.
be
You
very
answered-
clear.
you
I believe
answered-
every state should be a state of equal rights.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mamdani. Mr. Blake, where would you?
Okay, just fucking bizarre, dude. Where are we at as a country where we are in the debate for the Democratic primary, the New York mayoral race, right? These people are running to represent New York City, not Tel Aviv. They're not running to be the mayor of Tel Aviv or the prime minister of Israel. Why the fuck would you have a follow-up question on that? This is supposed to be a lightning round here. Notice how they don't question or follow up on anybody else in the lineup up on stage. They just take what they say at face value. But for Zoran, he gives the answer of, well, I don't really feel the need to, say that I'm going to go to a foreign country. I'm here to represent New Yorkers. And he even elaborates once he's pushed on it. Yeah, I'm going to visit people in synagogues, Jewish neighbors and everything. I'm going to go around to communities in all of the 5 boroughs and, represent my constituency. I'm focused on the work I'm doing here. And he didn't even bring up Israel in his answer. And they had the audacity to say, would you visit Israel? Do you believe that Israel has the right to exist as a Jewish state? Not just as a state, which they do, Israel does exist, right? But as a Jewish state. And they press him on that. They're asking him, do you believe that Israel has the right to exist as an ethno-state that was built upon and is predicated on the ethnic cleansing, the expulsion of Palestinians from their land, and then now the indefinite occupation of Palestinians in the West Bank and in Gaza, where they're conducting a genocide right now, and essentially holding millions of Palestinians hostage in an apartheid system? That's what they're asking him to validate on stage right now. I mean, it's It is utter insanity. His response there, I think, given the context, fair enough. That was a good response to say, I believe that every state should have equal rights. Why is that even a controversial thing to say? Why is that something that requires pushback in this country? I mean, this puts into perspective how utterly deranged the debate has gotten at this point. It should not be controversial to say ethno-states are bad, right? Apartheid states are bad. We should have states with equal rights for all people, not a hierarchical system based on religion or ethnicity or bloodlines or anything like that, right? So utterly deranged and insane to have that sort of a moment at the end of this debate. This was coming after he had been asked about this before, and he didn't really give a great answer on it. And so I guess the moderators felt like, let's get this quick dig in there towards the end of it and squeeze that in to, I guess, like kind of try to smear him as, I guess, being anti-Semitic or something like that. I mean, it's pathetic. And listen, at this point, given how many Americans have turned against Israel and are not buying the propaganda anymore that being critical of Israel is equivalent in some way to being critical of all Jewish people or of being anti-Semitic, I think that this kind of thing might backfire on people like Andrew Cuomo, right? Because I don't think you need, in order to win this kind of an election, to bow down to the state of Israel, to agree with everything that they do, to endorse their genocide or their apartheid state. I think that there are, and I'm hopeful that there are enough people that are fed up with that kind of a narrative that this may actually end up working out in Zoran's favor, having this kind of a moment. So again, insanity that even had to happen in that debate. Now, the other update that we have here is that finally, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has backed and endorsed Zohran Mamdani in the New York City mayoral race. She also gave a list of, because New York City in the Democratic primary now has ranked choice voting. She gave a list of all of the other people down here that she's going to be writing in as her follow-up choices to Mamdani. And, there was a conversation about this. I was joining in on it, questioning why did it take so long for AOC to endorse Zoran? Based on what Zoran has said, based on what I've seen from AOC and her people, they think that this was the most tactical time to do it right after the debate, sort of closing in on the final weeks until the election happens. I think it's going to be in the next couple of weeks, voting starts. So they thought that this was the best time to do it. Still waiting on a Bernie Sanders endorsement. I don't know why he hasn't done it yet. Maybe he was just waiting for AOC to pull the trigger, but hopefully the Bernie endorsement comes through as well. Now, in terms of where the polling stands right now, Andrew Cuomo is still in first place. You can see here the chart with the ranked choice voting coming into effect. Basically, the way that ranked choice voting works is that you put down your list in order of who you like the best and to who you like the worst as the candidates. And then, if your candidate is at the bottom here, they get eliminated. You move on to the second round, and then it goes to your second choice and third choice and fourth choice until eventually it consolidates and you end up with two people. And then that's how the election is ended up and decided. So if you follow this sort of track here, this graph, Zoran Mamdani, he starts out in the first round with only 22.7% to Cuomo's 35%. But in the final round, in the 10th round, once it's all decided, Cuomo's still leading, but it's only 54.4% to 45.6%. So we're talking about like a 9-point lead that Cuomo has right now on this guy. So this is definitely a winnable race. This is not a, crazy long shot that he couldn't possibly pull through. So it's definitely close. If you live in New York City and you have the opportunity to vote or do some last minute canvassing or trying to get your friends, your family, anybody that you know to go out and vote for Zoran, it's absolutely worth it, right? I mean, think about how insane it is that Cuomo is even leading this race, let alone that he's even in this race in the first place. We're talking about a guy, again, who was credibly accused of sexual harassment, had to resign in disgrace. He covered up nursing home deaths during COVID. This guy is corrupt as fuck. He is owned by the billionaire class, the large corporate class as well. This guy is an utter complete disgrace. This guy would not be good for average working class people in New York City. And then on the other hand, you have somebody like Zohran Mamdani, right, who is a total outsider, who has a solid policy platform from what I've seen. He wants to freeze the rent. He wants to build affordable housing. He wants to crack down on landlords. He wants to, build these or form these city-owned grocery stores, like publicly owned grocery stores in each of the boroughs. He wants fast, fare-free buses. He wants no-cost childcare, baby baskets for New York City's newborns, and K through 12 education as well. He wants to tax wealthy corporations and the 1%, and he wants to raise the minimum wage to $30 by 2030. So, listen, this is not a question here of who's the better candidate. Absolutely, if you have the chance, go and support Zohran Mamdani, and hopefully that debate helped him. Hopefully the endorsements are coming through here at the last minute, and that helps as well. I'm genuinely on the edge of my seat here, guys, because this is a huge inflection point. It would be massive if he was able to pull this off and to defeat some, an establishment, a powerhouse figure like Andrew Cuomo in such an impactful and major city. So this is huge. Let's cross our fingers. Let's see how much work we can do between now and the election, and hope that he can pull this one out.
Politic guy has the best politics. Believe me, no one does it like him. Believe me, everyone is saying